It's hard to say there's such thing as a good series loss, but if there is one, it was what happened for the Rangers this weekend against the Dodgers.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers, the first and best daily Rangers podcast. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering the team for 13 seasons, including all 8 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, on the new show, I'm talking about this weekend series against the Dodgers, why it shows the Rangers are legitimate contenders, and why, even though the Rangers lost 2 out of 3, this was still a massively positive sign for this Texas Rangers squad. Before we get into all that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. Now, the Rangers avoid the sweep on Sunday, winning just 1 of 3 games this weekend, but this was not all that close to being a sweep, because this Rangers squad was right in it with the Dodgers in all 3 games. The last one, the Rangers were able to squeak out a victory. Could have honestly been a blowout win for the Rangers had they taken advantage of their opportunities, but still, a 5-2 win, a win over the Dodgers in LA is a difficult thing to do, especially with as shaky as the back end of this pen has been at times. And the Dodgers are averaging 4 runs per game in the 5th through 9th inning. Let me say that again. 4 runs per game in the 5th through 9th inning. This is a team that knows how to absolutely break you, and they do so quite a bit at home. And they did for the first couple games of this series against the Rangers. Now, especially on Friday night, and just an absolute banger of a game on Friday night. A great start by Kumar Rocker. I'll talk about that in the second segment. I'll look a little bit back at that Saturday game that was probably the least competitive, but still a very competitive game on Saturday in the third segment. But I want to start with this win, because this was a massive win for the Rangers, needing to snap a 2-game losing streak and not go into Oakland, no longer Oakland, West Sacramento County, on a 3-game losing streak, and still keeping their winning record heading into that series this week, which is going to be a tough series against the A's. But Jacob deGrom said, don't worry, you've got your ace on the hill. This is a guy you throw out there against the best teams in baseball when you are needing a win on Sunday, just to salvage a series that was filled with quite a bit of moments that made me say, okay, I think this team is actually legit. Because heading into this series, this is kind of about how I thought this series would end up going. The Rangers losing the first 2 games, and then with deGrom versus Roki Sasaki, I thought the Rangers have just such a massive pitching advantage in that one that, I think the Rangers come out on top in that one. I didn't think they would end up winning this series, but it was a lot closer than I thought. I mean, they nearly did, if not for a couple of bad pitches here and there on Friday night. The Rangers are taking 2 out of 3 in Dodger Stadium and feeling really, really good about it. At last, that was not the case, but Jacob deGrom headed to the mound, only giving up 4 hits, just 1 run on the very first pitch of the game for him to Shohei Ohtani, who hits his second leadoff home run in less than 24 hours against the Rangers, but ends the day with 3 walks, 9 strikeouts, a 2.87 ERA at this point in the season. And Jacob deGrom was just flat out marvelous. This was Jacob deGrom looking at his nastiest, because not just because the fastball and the slider were working, because the changeup was working as well. And with the lineup with as many lefties, and not just regular old lefties, this is just some of the best left-handed hitters in all of baseball, in Ohtani, in Freeman, in Tucker, in Muncy as well, who absolutely obliterated the Rangers on Friday night. But he was held in check, and as were most of these really tough left-handed hitters on Sunday. And even Andy Pages, who was just going nuts. I mean, he's still hitting 429 on the season. I mean, one stat that just lets you know how much of a difficult matchup this was for any Rangers pitcher. As a team, the Dodgers, through 15 games, are hitting 290 with an 864 OPS, a 147 OPS plus. They are 47% better than the average hitter in Major League Baseball as a team. It is downright insane how good this lineup is. And going 6 innings, allowing just 1 run and striking out 9 of them, that is a great, great day for deGrom, who had that changeup working in a big way, getting some really ugly swings from Kyle Tucker on that pitch, 4 whiffs on 9 swings, also 3 called strikes, getting 7 called strikes on the 4-seam fastball, 6 called strikes on the slider, and a 38% whiff rate on that slider as well. This was just a marvelous game for him. Most of the strikeouts coming on that slider, 5 of them, 3 whiffs on, or three strikeouts on the changeup, 1 on the fastball. Just a fantastic day for him, even throughout a sinker there, just for good measure, making it through 6 innings on 93 pitches. This is the most he's gone in a game so far this season. The Rangers kind of needed that just a little bit after using a little bit more of their pen than they would have wanted to in the first couple games of the series, especially because of the rough day that Jack Leiter had, not able to make it through 4 innings on Saturday. But a good day from Rocker, although he only made it through 5 innings. That was a really, really positive outing for him. We'll talk about that more in just a second. But this was a great day for Jacob deGrom, and a great day for the rest of this pen, the A side of this pen, which I think Cole Winn is firmly a member of. I mean, going an inning and a third, going in and bailing out Jacob Latz, who got into a little bit of trouble, still only a 1.74 ERA on the season, but Winn still has not allowed a single earned run this year. Neither has Jacob Junis, coming in, striking out a pair. And credit to this catching staff in Danny Jansen and also Kyle Higashioka, but especially the Danny Jansen, who I was incredibly infuriated with the first couple games of the season because, he just was not challenging pitches. He was not challenging pitches basically at all. Even like surefire strikes, he just was not challenging. And when hitters don't challenge, I don't think any pitchers should challenge basically ever, unless you're Nathan Eovaldi. And even Nathan Eovaldi says, I don't think he's going to challenge. The Rangers only had 1 pitcher challenge. Of course, it was Robert Garcia. Of course, it was a ball. And of course, it was confirmed on the challenge. But back there, Danny Jansen had just been very passive in not challenging in what had been huge leverage situations in the past, especially some that Rocker had on Friday. I mean, some extra challenges really would have helped. But Danny Jansen said, okay, guys, I hear you. I hear the criticism. I'm going to start challenging more. And he challenged 5 times. 5 times. And he was right on 4 of those occasions. An exceptional rate for Danny Jansen, and in some big spots as well. Not just, just run of the mill, but being willing to challenge early on, being willing to challenge, in the very first inning against Freddie Freeman, a pitch that was beautiful, perfectly placed, a slider right at the bottom of the zone, would have been a 2-2 count to Freddie Freeman, and would have been some more pitches that Jacob deGrom had to throw in this one, and would not have been able to go as deep into the game as he did if not for that challenge. Boom, strike 3 called. The inning is over, and then he gets to go back out there, strikes out Max Muncy and Alex Freeland in the second inning, gets Dalton Rushing out pretty easily. And then Evan Carter jumps on a pitch, and Evan Carter was fantastic this weekend. And a couple of his home runs, both of his home runs so far this season, has been sitting and ambushing a first pitch fastball. Carter is a very, very patient hitter, and I absolutely love this approach for him, not just in this game. I'll talk about it in a second. When he ambushed Edwin Diaz on a first pitch fastball, just jumped all over it. Normally, Evan Carter, full count Carter, will work himself a full count. We'll see a lot of pitches, take a lot of pitches, especially a strike early in the count. A lot of times he will take that. And so pitcher's been saying, okay, I could just groove one right by him, get strike 1, and then start to go to work on him. And Evan Carter said, oh, I hope you'd do that. Oh, I hope you would try that. And Evan Carter says, how about I just sit on your first pitch fastball and crush that thing into the seats and drop the bat in a way that I've never seen Evan Carter drop the bat, knowing he got absolutely all of that one. And this Rangers offense, was fine in this game, scoring 5 runs, but they could have had a lot more. Roki Sasaki, they were working counts. They were working him hard. I mean, they got 5 walks off of Roki in 4 innings of work. And this is why Roki Sasaki has an ERA that starts with a 6 at this point, is because he just is really having trouble throwing strikes. And the Rangers were able to get on base. They were able to occasionally get some extra base hits. Josh Young with a double in this one off Sasaki, his first extra base hit of the season. He has looked much better this weekend than he did in the first week of the season, where he was just really struggling. Carter with that second homer of the season. I mean, 10 walks for the Rangers in this one. 10 walks. The Rangers had the leadoff man on what felt like every single time. And so often it felt like they were grounding into a double play. 12 runners left on base, just 2 for 14 with runners in scoring position. But the Rangers did enough. They did enough in this one to get the win. They had good pitchers on the hill to lock the thing down. Jacob Junis, his third save of the season. That is, I believe, already ties what he had done in his entire career to this point in terms of career saves. Yes, no, surpasses. He has already surpassed his career high or career total in saves with this third one. He had 1 in 23, 1 in 24, and now has 3 to lead the Texas Rangers in 2026. This is a job that I don't foresee him losing anytime soon. I feel incredibly confident with him at the helm, but the Rangers, credit to them, getting 5 runs off this Dodgers staff is not easy. Getting 7 on a Friday in a game that was an absolute banger, and had the Rangers pitched just a little bit better on the B side of their bullpen, they might have come away with a series win. But I want to talk about the great day it was for Kumar Rocker, for this offense on Friday, and how it all just barely came apart at the end. All that and more right after this. This show is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. If you've got a sweet tooth like I do, you know how tough it is to find that perfect treat without all the sugar. That's why the Confetti 5 Hour Energy Shot brings that nostalgic flavor back in a whole new way. This is that classic taste you remember, but the tasty caffeine boost and 0 sugar. It's a quick, easy way to satisfy that sweet craving while keeping things simple on the go. I've always loved birthday cake, but I can't be eating sweets all day. This is a perfect alternative. Confetti Craze 5 Hour Energy Shots taste just like birthday cake, vanilla and buttery flavors, but you unapologetically extra and unstoppably energized. All cake, no sugar. You can have your cake and sip it too, minus any sugar guilt. I like how convenient it is too. It's small, portable shot I can grab whenever I need a little pick-me-up. It's become my go-to when I want something sweet without going overboard. The Funfetti flavor is back on 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Crack open Confetti Craze 5 Hour Energy Shot today. Shout out to everybody making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On tomorrow's show, I'll be back and talking about this series opener with Nathan Eovaldi on the hill. Can he shut down this A's lineup? Can the Rangers start themselves a winning streak and get this road trip back on track? If you want to be part of the Everydayers Club, go to LockedOnTexasRangers.supercast.com to join the Everydayers Club today. Now, the Rangers offense did quite a bit in this one, including Friday getting some really big homers. Honestly, a lot of homers this entire weekend. A 3-run homer by Seager, his 4th of the season. Evan Carter's first home run of the season, an ambush fastball that he just jumped on by Edwin Diaz. And then Wyatt Langford's first home run of the season, which was a positive sign until he rounded first base. You could see him grimacing a little bit on the replay and holding his hamstring. He was taken out of the game. I didn't notice until the next half inning. And Zeke Duran is out there in left field and playing and hitting second for Wyatt Langford. I'm like, why is he out? What happened there? Unfortunately, a little bit of a hamstring strain. He was out for the rest of that series. He could be ready as soon as today. At this point, I'm thinking that is hopefully the most likely thing, but an IL trip will be avoided by Wyatt Langford. That is a huge, huge thing because Langford was finally starting to turn around, had his first walk of the season last week, also first home run on Friday. So really need to get that incredible bat in the lineup, especially as he is starting to turn a corner and find that power swing and find that on base and just find his offense in general. The Rangers cannot afford to lose Wyatt Langford for any prolonged stretch of time. And good for Seager getting a massive 3-run homer. This was his 2nd series back as a visiting player. The first time, his first game up, he had a 3-run shot in a 3-2 victory for the Rangers back in, I believe that was 2023. It has been a hot minute since Seager has been back, since he has been a member of the Los Angeles Dodgers. But outside of that 3-run homer, honestly, the 3 and 4 hitters in Berger and Seager did not do a whole lot this weekend. And for the Rangers to drop 7 runs on Friday night and then to be able to drop, 3 runs on Saturday night when they did not look good against Emmett Sheehan, who was coming into this the worst or second worst starter on this Dodgers team, and then to drop 5 in the finale against what is a very, very talented team. It shows the depth of this lineup because it wasn't just Seager and Berger doing all the damage like they were in that series against Philly. It was everybody. Nimmo having himself a fantastic weekend, a multi-homer day on Saturday. He keeps on hitting. He is leading this Rangers team in OPS with a 1,033 OPS. And the Rangers kept battling back and forth. But the star of this game for me on Friday, it was not Max Muncy, although if you were a Dodgers fan, it was definitely Max Muncy. You had a 3-homer game and just looked absolutely incredible. But Kumar Rocker, this was exactly the type of start that I love to see from a young pitcher, a guy who shows you a little bit of everything, shows you some nasty, dominant stuff, striking out 5 in 5 innings of work, did allow 3 home runs, 2 of them off of solo shots to Max Muncy, but was able to work through 5 innings, only a couple of walks, and get himself out of some trouble to be able to show kind of the entire gambit of what you can do as a starting pitcher. I mean, this is you seeing progression in real time at the big league level. To be a good big leaguer, you have to be a bad big leaguer first, and then you have to be a mediocre big leaguer and figure out how to get yourself through those situations when you get yourself into trouble and how to get yourself back on the rails. That's what Rocker did in this one. I mean, he looked absolutely fantastic. The sinker was straight up diabolical. Some of the swings and misses he was getting, including that first strikeout of Ohtani. I went and looked at the numbers of that. I'm like, surely watching it, that's got to be more movement than he's ever had on a sinker. And that really wasn't the case. I mean, it was the movement on that sinker was about as much movement as he'd been getting all year long. The vertical break, the drop was about 22 inches, which is about what it's been in the past. The slider had a little bit more drop on it than in the past, the 39 inches as opposed to 38 inches, what he'd averaged on the season. The changeup was, fine, but he was getting a lot of strikeouts on not only the sinker, but he got one on the changeup. He got a couple on the slider and on the sinker as well. I mean, this was just a nasty, nasty bit of performance for Rocker, where the sinker was not just dropping a whole lot, which is not something that we've really seen. At least to hitters, they were taking a lot uglier swings than we had seen hitters take off of his sinker, I think maybe ever, and taking some called third strikes, or at least a called third strike on that sinker that had some nasty, nasty arm side movement on it. Looked like it was going to be in the opposing batter's box, and then just jumps right into that outside corner for a called third strike against a tough right-handed hitter. This was massive for Rocker. And then later on, like he has done at times because he's a young pitcher, and this is an incredibly talented lineup, he got himself into a little bit of trouble in that 5th inning. Just walking Andy Pages, who has been just unstoppable so far to start this season, then gives up a knock right there to Alex Freeland right after that. So he's got runners on first and third at that point. Haesung Kim flies out and gets a sac fly to score the run, and it's a 1-run game at that point. And then he has to face, and then that is off the 9-hitter. So a 1-run game with a runner on base, and here comes the top of this lineup. That's it's Shohei Ohtani. Oh, it's Kyle Tucker. Oh, it's Will Smith, Freddie Freeman. Those are the guys that are coming up. Those are some of the best hitters in the entire sport. And what does he do? He gets Shohei Ohtani singles and then gets himself into a little bit more trouble, works around a walk to Kyle Tucker, really backs himself into a bit of a corner, and he gets a perfect pitch. He settles down, bases loaded, 1 out, a 1-run game, facing off against Will Smith, who is an incredible hitter, one of the best hitters in the game, and also an incredible catcher. This is a very, very good player. First pitch, 94-mile-an-hour sinker up above the zone, kind of at eye level. Not a great pitch, not a pitch that Will Smith is going to chase. Then a 93-mile-an-hour sinker that might have just barely brushed the plate. It's up a little bit, but it would have, I believe, been like 0.2 inches or so away from being a strike. But it's tempting enough, and it's had so much movement, so much gloves or arm side movement, that it starts off as a strike and then jumps out of the zone. And by the time Will Smith already committed to swinging at it, he knows, oh no, this is not a pitch I'm going to do anything with. And then he hits a ground ball to Josh Jung. Excellent play by Josh Jung to grab the ball, step on third base, and then throw over to first base to get out the catcher. A double play gets himself out of that inning without any more damage being done. Ends what was a really encouraging start for Rocker. Still has a 4.5 ERA, but this 5 runs or 5 innings, 3 runs, 5 Ks against this Dodgers lineup is exceptional. It is truly exceptional because we have not seen a lineup like this in a long, long time. I know it just sounds like, oh, wow, Bryce is just obsessed with the Dodgers. Yeah, I am in awe of how freaking good this Dodgers team is and how close this Rangers team got to not only winning a series, but even on Saturday when they lost by 3 runs, the tying run was at the plate with 2 outs in the 9th inning and put himself together a pretty good at bat when the Rangers end up losing. If not for a couple of bad performances by the back end of this pen, or the, I guess, middle end of this pen, maybe this Rangers game goes a little bit differently. If the Rangers are still able to score 3 runs off Edwin Diaz, then maybe the Rangers go in a different direction. I mean, Robert Garcia had another really rough day, going an inning and immediately allowing a couple of runs, a couple of base runners, and just had that gone differently, maybe the Rangers win this game. Had Luis Crivello not given up a 2-run homer to the guy who terrorized them all weekend long in Andy Pages, and a homer that would have only been a homer in 9 of 30 ballparks. One of those where it would not have been a homer was in Globe Life Field in Texas. Alas, the Rangers were here, and it was not particularly close to not being a home run in Dodger Stadium. But still, had this gone a little bit differently, 5 runs given up by this bullpen, including Jacob Latz, who came on in the 9th inning after the Rangers tied it up. I mean, a great bit of hitting by this Rangers squad. The most expensive closer in the game, Edwin Diaz, comes in, the trumpets sound, and everybody's jumping on their feet. And it's like, okay, Dodgers about to close this thing out. They got a 3-1 lead. Surely this thing is done and dusted. And last year, this offense would have folded. They would have just rolled over and died. That's kind of their MO last year. But this year's offense is not that. They were fighters. They were absolutely scrapping, clawing, battling back. And Jock Peterson, making use of the challenges, and in an 0-2 count, gets a called third strike on a slider that was honestly not that close to the zone. I'm a little shocked that Diaz got such a generous call. And then the next pitch out, Diaz, I think, was flustered by not getting that called third strike, getting it overturned. And then Jock Peterson launches a single, gets on base, and Evan Carter, with a great bit of hitting, again, like I said earlier, a strategy that I love seeing Evan Carter employ, a guy who will work a long at bat. He is very, very known to just take a first pitch strike. And this wasn't even a first pitch strike. This was 95 miles an hour, or 94.8 miles an hour, in about belt high. He sees that thing, he sits fastball, he crushes it to right field and gets right center field and gets his first homer of the season. Rangers are just 1 run away. Danny Jansen ends up striking out on what was a very good at bat, but works himself a 6-pitch at bat, ends up striking out on a slider that just barely touched the inside corner. That call got overturned. Initially was called a ball, but Josh Smith flies out, and then Young singles, ambushes a first pitch slider that's hanging. Then Sam Haggerty with an incredible bit of base stealing. I mean, this was maybe the fastest I've ever seen Haggerty. I mean, he had that base stolen by what felt like a country mile, and Diaz wasn't even that slow to the plate. It was a great throw by Will Smith that back there behind the dish. But I mean, he had that thing stolen by a mile. And then an intentional walk to Brandon Nimmo, who was fantastic all weekend long. And Zeke Duran coming up in a big spot, pinch hitting or taking over for Wyatt Langford at that point. A slider hung with a runner in scoring position. Zeke Duran says, I know what to do with this baseball. Deposit it into left field for a game-tying single. The Rangers weren't able to pour on one more with Corey Seager at bat. Ends up striking out on a slider in the dirt. Just was not quite able to get that extra run home. And had he done that, maybe this thing goes a little bit differently, because Jacob Latz looked really darn good in the first part of that 9th inning. Strikes out Will Smith, strikes out Freddie Freeman swinging, gets 2 strikes on Max Muncy, a swinging strike, and then a foul ball on a perfectly placed slider. And then 0-2, Max Muncy gets a pitch. He can handle a slider that was not well located up in the zone that just hung just enough. And Max Muncy said, I know what to do with that baseball. Give me my third home run of the day. I am going to be one of the Keller killers, both him and Shea Langeliers, both Keller natives who absolutely annihilate the Rangers. A frustrating game on Friday, but still a well-fought game by this Ranger squad. Down 3 runs in the ninth inning. They forced the bottom of the ninth. And even though they weren't able to get it to extras or get a win, this was one of the more encouraging losses that you will ever see. But Saturday was not quite as encouraging, a little bit of a frustrating day. We'll talk about that and more right after this. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here, where every possession matters, every matchup is magnified, and every game can swing a series. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get in on the action. Here's what I like about it. You can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. The app makes it easy to follow the action with player stats, trends, and matchups all in one place. And during the playoffs, that extra insight really matters when you're looking at stars, role players, and key moments. It makes the entire playoff experience more engaging from start to finish. They've got all kinds of odds on not just NBA playoffs, but NHL playoffs that are coming up as well. Stars facing off against the Wild. Dallas Mavericks are not going to be in the postseason this year, but I'm thinking that you could bet on maybe some futures for Cooper Flagg, maybe a future MVP in his future, maybe a future playoff appearance for the Dallas Mavericks next year with the emergence of Cooper Flagg taking a next step. But if you want to get in the action, head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. This show is also brought to you by TurboTax. It's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth, and wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, it's done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve, while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to TurboTax/local to find a store near you and book your appointment. Now, this Saturday game was the most frustrating of these three. The Rangers losing in not as dramatic fashion, but it felt a little bit done and dusted. Basically, from the first inning, the Rangers were able to get a leadoff homer from Brandon Nimmo, who just had an absolutely exceptional day, a multi-homer game, a multi-extra base hit game, 2 homers, a double off of Emmett Sheehan, the only one who was able to do much of anything off of Sheehan. Literally, 3 of the 4 hits that Emmett Sheehan allowed were to Brandon Nimmo. Outside of that, there wasn't a whole lot being done. It was really 3 of the 4 hits allowed on the entire day. The only other player able to get a hit in this one was Josh Young, who has been looking much, much better this weekend. I mean, Josh Young over the last 7 games has looked significantly better. In those last 7 games, he's hitting 400 with an on base of 500 and slugging 450 because he has 1 double in those 8 hits in that span. Good to see Josh Young getting himself back on track. Eventually, I think we will see Josh Smith get himself back on track a little bit, and Zeke Duran stepping up and doing a pretty darn good job of hitting. Has walked just once, has his first home run of the season, so he will not have a homerless season. The only Rangers without home runs at this point are Josh Young, Josh Smith, and Sam Haggerty. Hopefully all those guys will get on the board at some point soon. I'm thinking we'll see a little bit more of Haggerty in this series against Oakland, no longer Oakland. I just eventually maybe I will figure out a way to stop calling them the Oakland A's. But this was a tough day at the office for Jack Leiter, who just did not quite have it in this one. But credit to him for battling back. I mean, what he had done so well early on in the season, he hadn't walked guys, he had gotten a lot of swings and misses and a lot of strikeouts, and he had not, I believe at this point, had not given up a home run, or at least had not given up a whole lot of home runs. Just 1 home run in the first 2 games, and then 2 home runs account for 4 of the 5 runs given up in this game. But credit to Leiter, who got himself into a tough situation early on, gives up a leadoff homer to Shohei Ohtani. That'll happen. That wasn't even that bad of a pitch. I mean, it's just kind of Ohtani being Ohtani, and he just does his thing, gets himself into a hitter's count, and then a slider that was in off the plate, not even a strike. He golfs that thing for a solo shot to start this game, his fourth of the season. Then Teoscar Hernandez, after allowing a Will Smith single, a Freddie Freeman walk around a Kyle Tucker and Max Muncy strikeout, a home run to Teoscar Hernandez on a changeup that was just up a little bit too high in the zone. He golfs that thing for a 3-run homer. And, well, if you're a person who says that it counts if they strike out the side, no matter what happens, as long as 3 outs are recorded via strikeout, then he struck out the side in the first, but he allowed 4 runs. But even after pitching, throwing so many pitches, and even later on in this game, where he allowed a run later on in the 3rd inning, was still able to make it through 3 2/3 innings, which is more than I thought that Leiter would be able to do. I know that Jack Leiter looked absolutely unbelievable, unstoppable in the first 2 games of this season, but at a certain point, you kind of just chalk it up to, okay, it's the Dodgers. Like they're going to get everybody. The Raiders had their chances in this one to get a few more runs, 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position, and they just were not quite able to do a little bit more with it. 3 of the 4, actually all 3 runs coming off of home runs by Brandon Nimmo, solo shot to lead off the game, and then a 2-run homer because Josh Young got on ahead of him as the only other guy to get a hit in this one. At last, the Rangers could not do all that much. They were able to get some pressure in the 9th inning, though, getting a couple of base runners, one on via the error, one on via the walk in the 9th inning. Jake Berger reaching on a fielding error by Max Muncy, and then McCutcheon called out on a strike that maybe just barely was a strike, would have challenged it if not for the Rangers being out of challenges, because they just they used them a little bit more poorly in this one. But still, credit to Higgy for challenging twice in that game, of just being more aggressive with those challenges. That is something that is going to pay dividends later on. But the rest of this pen, mostly did their job. Tyler Alexander in a mop-up opportunity, 2 1/3 innings of scoreless baseball. Robert Garcia coming back after what was a brutal night on Friday, which has been kind of a brutal season for him so far. Still walks a batter because that's the Robert Garcia experience, but does not walk the leadoff batter, which has been the thing that has gotten him into the most trouble. Chris Martin coming in and allowing a run in the 8th inning of work, but still the Rangers were not able to do enough with it. A strikeout for Danny Jansen with the tying run at the plate with 2 outs and a full count in the 9th inning. That was it for the Texas Rangers. Alex Vesia coming in and getting just a incredible at bat. I mean, Vesia, this entire Dodgers team looked so darn good all weekend long, and the Rangers being able to scrap out a win was good. This offense, not just lying down and dying, and being able to, score some runs against was a really good pitching staff. The fact that they weren't able to do much against Sheehan was kind of wow. I mean, not that Sheehan's a bad pitcher, but on this Dodgers squad, he really stands out as, the guy with the, least great stuff. Roki has got incredible stuff, but doesn't have a clue where it's going. He's just kind of out there as a sacrificial lamb / science experiment every 5th day. Say, hey, if this guy figures it out, he's going to be really good. And our offense is so darn good that we can trot him out there every 5th day. And even if he gives up, 5 or 6 runs in 4 innings, then we'll find a way to get some wins. They weren't able to on Sunday. The Rangers were able to avoid the sweep, and what was a promising experience when getting some runs and getting to Tyler Glasnow, who was the best starter the Dodgers threw this weekend. Glasnow is by far the best starter. The Rangers were able to get 4 runs off of him, including 3 on the 3-run shot by Corey Seager on Friday night, and being able to get to the best closer, or one of the best closers in the game, in Edwin Diaz, with a 3-run lead and forced that bottom of the 9th inning. That was a huge sign that this team, while they're not better than the Dodgers right now, the fact that they were able to hang with them in Dodger Stadium, a really, really difficult place to play, gives me a whole lot more hope that I'm betting the rest of this road trip, that is going to be the toughest road trip the Rangers have all season long, is going to end with a few more wins than they got this weekend. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank you all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.